Now, he knew he had to go out and get something bigger and better to bring home to his grandmother. So once again he started walking along, walking and looking and walking, keeping his eye out for any sign of animal. This you can take a picture of, that he could bring home and share with his grandmother. Thank you! I look so very, I am out. I am Nanook of the North, out looking for food for my family. That takes care of her for a while. He went up and over another little hill, and then down there on the beach in front of him, he looked to see. Oh, down there on the beach, he saw there was a great big fat ring seal. Oh, a big fat ring seal. Oh, how very good. How happy grandmother will be if he brought home this big fat ring seal. Now, not only was there the meat and the fur and all the things that they could use, but there was also the oil. You see, seal oil is very, very important, possibly the most important thing to us Yupik people. We'll take the seal fat and we'll render it into the oil, and not only will we eat that oil, we pretty much dip everything in it, because it's that nice, really high octane oil that burns really strong and really hot, and that's what keeps us warm during the winter times. But also this oil is very important because we put it in our stone seal oil lamps with a little bit of moss there, and it burns and it burns, and this is what gives us most of our light and our heat. Now you might be thinking, why not just build a fire? But we live in a place where there are no trees, there are no forests. And the only firewood that we have is what comes down on the great rivers, the Yukon and the Kuskokwim, and go out into the sea and wash up onto the beaches. Or sometimes even the great rivers of Asia over across the Bering Sea will wash up ashore. They even found a tree that actually is native to southern China wash up on the shores of our beaches once. But this isn't enough wood to build a fire all the time, and so we have to use these seal oil lamps to give us most of our light and our heat. And so, this was so very important, to get this big fat ring seal and bring it home. But oh, what grandmother would love the most was the flippers. You see, grandmother loves to take the flippers and she'll wrap them up in dried grasses, and then she'll go and she'll find a place to dig a hole in the mud, and she'll put that little package there and she'll cover it up, and then she'll go and she'll leave it there for a couple of weeks perhaps, and then she'll go back and she'll dig that little package back out of the mud, and she'll open it up, and oh wow, it smells very, very strong. But it's grandmother's very, very favorite food in the whole wide world. Stinky fermented seal flippers. Would anyone like to try some? It's called a delicacy. Everyone always turns and runs at that word, don't they? It's okay if you don't want to try any. That means there'll be more for grandmother. So how happy grandmother would be if he brought home this big fat ring seal. And so he took out his little harpoon and he started sneaking up towards that big fat ring seal, and he got up as close as he could, as close as he should. And when he was in just the right spot, he stood up quickly and thump! He got that big fat ring seal on the very first try. Now he went up to that big fat ring seal and he took out his little harpoon and he started going through all of the protocols that were necessary to make sure that the spirit of that big fat ring seal knew how thankful he was, how happy he was, that it had decided to give its life to him so that he and his grandmother could survive. And after he went through all of that protocol, that's when he started to look at that big fat ring seal, and the more he looked at that big fat ring seal, the more he started to think to himself, wow. That big fat ring seal there looks really good. Oh, I know that I should take this big fat ring seal home and I should share it with my grandmother, but I'm still kind of hungry. Maybe if I ate this big fat ring seal, then I could get a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, and then I would go out and I would get something even bigger and even better to bring home to my grandmother. And so he decided that he would eat that big fat ring seal right then and there. And so he went over and he picked up that big fat ring seal and he started to eat it. If I see any flashes, the story ends now. That includes little boys. And he started to eat that big fat ring seal. Okay, you're okay because you've been filming the whole thing. Here. Because it looks so much better in, when there's movement involved. When it's just a still picture, it makes no sense. What is this guy doing? But there's context here, so... You're doing it anyway! Do I have no dignity? And here we had a great storyteller up in Alaska. Look at how expressive he is. Gristle. Oh, this is going way too far. And so he ate that big fat ring seal, skin and bones and gristle and all. Now, a big fat ring seal is pretty big and fat, and to fit all of that inside of his tummy, well, he had to get even bigger and even taller. And now when he walked along, his footsteps were just a little bit further apart, and they started to make these little ka-dong, ka-dong, ka-dong sounds as he walked along. But now he knew he had to go out and get something bigger and better to bring home to his grandmother, but he was kind of feeling a little bit thirsty. I mean, he'd eaten quite a bit and hadn't had something to drink in a while.